we're live. Back at it again with some different camera angles.
Absolutely.
This is probably a pretty bad angle. I'm not gonna lie. I think that yeah, I gotta fix this. I gotta fix this camera angle. I mean, look at
Not
even the
today.
background's ruined. There's like boxes that I have just over to the side.
Yeah.
Doesn't look good.
But you are professing your love for Christ, which is cool.
Oh, I didn't oh no. Yeah. I am. I never told everyone this, but apparently I'm kind of nervous. It's kind of scary. He even has
Shout
like
out.
I know it doesn't show up in the footage, but he has a little like string. Is this yours? Is that like is that
I made that.
you made that?
Yeah.
Why did you tie the string on his arm?
Around the same time I made that, I was working at a summer camp, and that's a bracelet that a kid made me. And I was like, I'm just adding accessories to that guy. He did have a MAGA hat for a while.
Oh,
Does he still have
no.
it?
He doesn't. That would be hilarious though. Can you imagine? Like not only
No,
is
that's the whole thing.
Oh, that
That's
would
the
be
whole
so
thing.
funny.
It's Jesus with a MAGA hat on.
Yeah, why did you take it off? What happened? Was it did you make it?
I think no, it was like for little figurines. It was just like molded out of like plastic. Um, but yeah, it didn't say MAGA on it. It was just a red hat. I mean, but yeah, I mean it's a MAGA hat. I
That would
saw
have
a
been
human
funny.
being. I saw a human being wearing a MAGA hat like 2 days ago
Dang.
in
That's
San Francisco at the pier.
yeah, I don't know how anyone like I get it for like the joke, like if someone's doing a little bit, but in public, I don't think
He was nice. He was actually a nice guy because I needed to get around him, and he was like they were doing renovations on this building, and like he needed to turn his vacuum off and move it out of the walkway, and he did it for me twice.
that is nice. Is he he's a cleaner?
I think he's like works for a construction company.
Mm.
Got sidetracked, but that Jesus you see over there, that's like a iconic Jesus from Rio de Janeiro and Brazil. And
Yeah, that statue at the top of the mountain, right?
right. And the statue has a twin statue in San Sebastian, Spain, which is also at the top of a much smaller hill or mountain, you could call it. And that Jesus is holding up the peace sign.
Mm.
And in 2018, I went to go see that. That's one of my favorite cities in all of Europe that I've been to, is San Sebastian, which is on the north coast of Spain.
That's cool. I really wish it had the little red hat on there. That would just
I know the little red.
that'd be
It's
too
not like
funny.
sitting on the windowsill up there or anything.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice it too. That would have been the circumstance would have been so funny if I'm looking
Yeah,
up there and I'm like, oh,
you know what? You know what? The little red hat might be on the windowsill in that green room. Um, it I know it's around somewhere, and it might even be on those shelves just over your right shoulder. So that's your left.
oh,
You see the white bookshelf back there in that little cove?
oh yeah, I do see that back there. Yeah,
Yeah. It might be in there. Not worth looking now, but you
yeah,
can
but
find it.
that would be funny. I mean, now the bit's already kind of revealed. It would be more funny if it was already on there. It would be like, is that a Jesus wearing a MAGA hat? And I'd be like, oh.
uh, yeah. Depending on who your audience is, you would. I mean, if you just play it serious, it'd be funny no matter what, or people would take it seriously. Like, dude, down there in the Bible Belt, like, you might get some MAGA is Jesus. But
You know,
one
I
one
don't want that kind of like. I don't think that's the kind of audience that I'd want to attract personally. You know.
I know, but like that's like you run the risk if you're doing good if you're doing good work and like towing that line that makes things funny, you might attract some of them.
Yeah, they might think it's serious, but maybe that's even like funnier actually. Now that I think about it, if they think like he's like, oh yeah, they're like, oh yeah, he's one of us, but
Right.
I just play the character. That is, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of great.
Yeah. Yeah. Start even closer to them, get some momentum, and then start to go further and further away. When you get some blowback, just straighten out for a little bit and then continue in that direction.
Oh,
And
you know what we should have done? We should have said like in the title, because it's Jorts and the Winner is the title of this episode right now. Maybe we'll get to that topic, but we should have put Jesus lovers welcome and see who comes in.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. There's a recent I'm going to pause what I was going to say. I'm just going to jump back to the Jesus statue, which was artistically created to have a MAGA hat. The reason I had the MAGA hat on there is because around, I think it was around 2010 or 2011, Kanye West put out an album called Yeezus. And in an interview with Zane Lowe, who is a British interviewer for Apple, Kanye famously said, "People are asking me who do I think I am?" And he said, "I'm a god. I just told you who I am." Bad recreation of the interview moment, but basically, Yeezus means basically people call him Ye, Kanye. They were saying Kanye's Jesus, basically, right? That's what he was portraying as part of the um, his artistic expression at that time. And so that was initially the Rio Jesus, supposed to be Kanye West's head, and then a MAGA hat on it. Because in 2018, when I made that, that was when Kanye just started wearing the MAGA hat, right? And it was too hard to sculpt his face. So it looks like a baby's head with a MAGA hat, which has a different feel. But the initial vision was Kanye West as Jesus wearing a MAGA hat.
Hmm. It's crazy. Whenever I look at the back, that's crazy how that just sits there. That with the
with the
light.
with the light going behind it.
Yeah, that is just that is. It's almost uncomfortable where it's like it's so there that like anyone who like even just joins is gonna be like, oh, what's going? What is this? What's going on?
Well, at least you have that other Sanskrit, I believe, little the Om there on the wall. Do you see that?
Yeah.
It looks like a 3 and a 0.
Yeah. What is that?
I'm pretty sure it's Sanskrit. It's like Om is like I believe the sentiment is like be here now kind of thing.
Hmm.
It's kind of like present moment awareness, meditation, like all things can be accessed through the present moment kind of vibe.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're spiritually diverse according to your surroundings.
But someone who doesn't know might think that I'm like some kind of like I'm a cultist. Like that's our cult symbol, and that's Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could still be bad. I mean, you're kind of wearing like that shirt. You could be a member of a cult for sure.
True. Oh my god. Like yeah, I could imagine someone
And it
comes
looks
in.
like the cord from your headphone kind of looks like you're wearing one of those necklaces that one of those guys would wear.
Oh yeah. Oh, if I had more things to do the bit, I could even do like a seance. I could be like,
Yeah.
all members, rise. We are gathered here today. I don't know if my mic's actually picking up. We are gathered here today for a great seance and to honor the wonderful and great Kanye West
West.
and our dear leader, Donald J. Trump. The J stands for Jesus.
Jesus.
All rise.
Rise.
I'm sad
And
no
that's
one
good.
came in.
And that's good because a rising tide raises all boats, and Moses had the biggest boat, and he was from the Bible.
True. Flood.
Mhm. Flood. Yep.
Oh wait, no, that wasn't Moses. That was who's that guy who saved the animals?
Noah. Yeah. Did I say
Noah. Yeah,
Moses? Yeah.
yeah,
He
you did
was
say
Moses was a water guy too, but smaller scale.
he's the.
More power though, perhaps. More God power.
Oh, he parted the seas. That's right, and then
Yeah,
tried to kill
that
his
dude is
son.
actually wait, what?
He didn't he was willing to, like he was gonna
That
kill
was
his son, wasn't he? He
that
was
was
like,
Abraham. Abraham was
okay.
that guy.
I'm getting them all mixed up. Okay.
Well, you can tell, so am I. No, he wasn't the son, but he was a son who was of Jewish descent. And but what happened was the Jews were about to be killed by these Egyptian guys. And so his mom, after having the baby a couple months later, put Moses into a basket and put him in a river where there were alligators and shit. But at least he wasn't going to get killed right away. Maybe he would get eaten by an animal. The royal family of Egypt finds a baby in the river and adopts the baby as their own, not knowing he's of Jewish descent. So now Moses is being raised in the royal family, and his brother is going to become the pharaoh of Egypt. And then Moses kind of realizes where he's from and that it's not right that they're persecuting the Jews, and he basically like breaks out of that world that he's been in. Have you heard this story before?
I think so. It sounds very familiar.
Okay, he breaks out, and then there's the 10 plagues and shit with the bugs and blood, and they kill a lot of babies in there, kids, and that's not cool. But God did it. Apparently, that was like the 8th or ninth one. Um, Boils. There was just skin shit going on, and at the as they were leaving Egypt, there was like the Red Sea in their way, and they needed to escape from like these guys in chariots, and they had gold like they were the Egyptians, right? And but what happened was he goes like this with the staff, the water parts, and then closes behind them so that the Egyptians can't get him, and he freed the Jews in Egypt. So that's Moses, pretty influential guy. I think Abraham just God told him to kill his son, and then he was about to do it, and then because he was about to do it, then he stopped him, and he's like, "Oh," God was like, "Oh, you're good. You're a good guy."
Hmm. I've heard these stories. I always wonder, like, especially for the Abraham one, what if he didn't intervene soon enough and he just no, don't
Yeah.
do it, and then he's
Yep.
just stabbed his
Yeah.
son and he's dead.
Yep.
Would he then like what would happen? Like would he be like, "Yo, you can thou shall not kill. You told me to do it. I told you not to. It was too late." And then does lightning just come down and then Abraham that imagine that alternative in the book. He just dies. He gets hit by lightning. Sorry, loser.
And then there's like 90 more minutes of the film where it's just a depressing decline of Abraham. He's becomes a panhandler and then like a sex slave and eventually commits suicide.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Alternative
he had a
film.
son. He had a son. His son couldn't have been Moses. Isaac. Maybe his son was Isaac. And Isaac wrestled with God for a night.
I have not heard this story. What were they doing in that wrestling match
I
at
know. I gotta
night?
look this. Yeah, he didn't get a boner, I don't think. Let me see. Who was Abraham's son? Isaac. Isaac. What's up with Isaac? Why did Isaac wrestle God?
Yeah, that just sounds like something's
Oh,
going
wait.
on there.
Okay, Jacob wrestled God. I don't know what the hell Isaac did, man.
You know,
Isaac might not have been a good what?
I'm just thinking something's going on in that wrestling match. I think
I
God's
know.
doing some weird stuff in those stories. I don't know. Like, imagine being the person who, like, look, I'll admit it. I'm not religious at all. Someone writes down this story, right? I'm thinking about if I'm the guy who, like, is determining the meaning here, is writing these down, is interpreting the story, and is like, Jacob wrestled with God. I don't know. I'm just thinking some weird stuff is going on there. That guy was probably like repressed, and he was like, "Oh, yeah," and then God came and put him in the pile driver maneuver. I mean, yeah, it was, but nothing happened. Nothing weird happened. It's like, all right, did this
Yeah,
really happen? Yeah, and then he grabbed his thigh.
yeah. I think that that's one version of it for sure. Um there's like a maybe like a funeral going on near me. There's like bagpipes playing right now.
Yeah,
Um
maybe a
I'm just
parade.
noticing there's bagpipes. I don't know. I think it's not a parade. But what I was gonna say was, God might be all things. So in a way, a lot of people wrestle with God every day in the way you're talking, pile driver and yada yada.
Grabbing some thigh.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, eating chicken for sure. Dark meat.
Yeah, God loves that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's also, uh, I think, Russell Brand recently converted to Christianity.
Really,
Um,
that seems
yeah.
odd. That seems like a very like. I guess he always was kind of like out there in that kind of way. I guess I can see it. I guess I could see it.
But what does out there have to do with converting to Christianity?
I don't know. There's like certain types of like converting. Like, some people genuinely use it to like, they need it. They're in a time of need and they're looking for something spiritual, right? And then you have those guys who go like all out. And like it's kind of for like, and maybe it's for a similar reason, but it's the way that it happens. You know what I mean? Like it's some of those people who like they do a complete shift and you're like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And now this person is like is acting strange on top of it. It's not just like a subtle like, oh, I need I need a little bit more faith in my life. It's somebody who really is chomping down on the bit. Now they have a political show about it.
Like the religion becomes their identity.
Yeah, basically. And it's like an instant snap, and that's just the new thing that they're on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
historically they do that.
How
They
can it not?
jump.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So that's what being out there means is you jump from thing to thing and make it your whole identity.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that just becomes the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. He was I think he's been a political commentator for a long time, but he was a drug addict and then he was a movie star, a sober movie star. Then he was a political commentator and then now he's a Christian political commentator, I believe. Um, I don't like listening to him talk anymore.
Yeah.
I at a time did for sure. And I also watched a movie of his recently, which spoiler alert, uh Diddy is in. He's a major character in. Um, but Diddy was actually funny in this movie, and it was called Get Him to the Greek. Did you ever see that one?
No.
It is just filled with sex and drugs. But it's also Jonah Hill is in it, and it's basically Jonah Hill, Diddy, and Russell Brand. They're the three main characters, and Russell Brand is a rock star. He's a rock star. This movie came out like 2010, and he lives in London, and he needs to come to LA to play like a reunion show. And Jonah Hill is his chaperone to get him across the country, and he's just a sporadic rock star and fucking everybody and stuff. It's it's really funny. I thought the movie was funny, and yeah, yeah,
I'll have to give it a watch sometime.
yeah.
At
I
least,
think this
like, you
movie,
know, there's always that thing with, like, it's even the same thing with, like, for instance, Michael Jackson. There's always that debate of, like, the stuff
I don't.
that they were in. Or even, like, actually it's different with a movie, I would even say.
Kevin
Because,
Spacey.
yeah, Kevin Spacey, there's so many other people that are a part of those projects, right? You have other actors, you have production, you have a writers, you have a director, right? And then you have like them, which is just one component, right?
Yeah,
And then it's like I have to say, you can't like I can never watch those movies. I still watch them, and then you see everyone else, and that's all normal. Whenever they come on screen, I always in the back of my mind, I'm always like, oh, you know. It's always
yeah.
just sitting there. You always just know. Even Michael Jackson songs, whenever they come on, I'm always like, you know, the music, I know there's other people a part of it, but I always am thinking in the back of my mind, I have that little, like, doing weird stuff with those kids. That's strange.
But you don't know he did that. You know Diddy did bad shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Michael Jackson is like, yeah, it's less concrete. He's never convicted of it, but there was that what was that? That doc it was a documentary, and they talked to these kids who, like, again, we don't know, but they said that, and I think they did actually spend time with Michael Jackson too. So it doesn't look too good. It looks pretty
Yeah,
bad.
but also like you don't know. So that's the thing.
Yeah, that
Like
one is less
like Michael
concrete.
Jackson didn't go to jail or anything.
Yeah, I think it's like, after watching that, I gotta say it seems pretty likely. I'm not throwing out a 100% definitely, but it
Hmm.
seems likely from my point of view. And
That he was
always
doing
when
what? That he was doing what?
that he was doing weird stuff with those kids. That there
Weird.
was like
So what's weird?
he
Like
was like
touching them sexually?
yeah, I think so if I remember correctly. And they were like sleeping in his bed and stuff. It was not good. It was bad. It's pretty bad.
Yes. So if they just slept in his bed, that's bad. If he never touched them.
That's still weird. That's almost like he was still was thinking, he was planning it, but never worked up the courage. It's still like, you know, there's levels of badness here.
Oh, so it's only
That
bad if he had the intent to touch them?
see, I think that if you do that, it's like it seems pretty evident. Like like even if the person was
Well,
like,
no,
no,
it
I
doesn't.
wasn't thinking
It
about it, I'd
doesn't
be like,
mean
no,
it's
it's.
evident because he didn't. Because let's just say they just slept in his bed. Is that in and of itself a bad thing?
I think it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that in itself is
Why?
just bad because
Why?
it's getting on the edge of weird. Like we don't do that. Those aren't your kids. That's weird, strange,
It's on the edge of weird. So
and it
then it's
was
not.
worse than that too in the documentary. But I mean, like we're just saying, let's say that
I know.
the
We're
claims
just
were.
talking about that because what you're saying is you don't do this because it looks bad or it could potentially lead to this. But if it was just that and that was the only thing that he wanted and the only thing he did, is it bad by itself or is it only bad because it's close to bad?
I think it's bad because it's close to bad. I think it's like it's just it's coming close to that line, and it's like stop. Like that's the moment where it's like stop it. Not good, you know?
Yeah.
Even like the parents of those kids, I don't know what they were doing. Like, he's a movie star. We can let him go to his Adventureland and spend the night with him. No, I'm not doing that as a parent. I'm being like, no, my kids aren't staying alone with this guy. I don't care who he is. I don't care if he's a big singer or something. Look, at sometimes they're weird people. Like, it's strange that everyone had this like conception that all these guys are famous. They must be good. No, they're just regular people. Some of them could be like murderers and pedophiles and stuff. You don't know. It's a stranger. Don't let your kids stay there. It's crazy.
Yeah. So people lie, and people in the documentary could lie. So it's still not grounded, the evidence.
Yeah.
And something that's funny and maybe ironic is that the the foundations of this country, and still 1/3 of the world's population is uh Christian. They identify as Christian, right? Believing in the New Testament and Jesus as the Son of God, yada yada yada, right? A major thing that religion does is it instills like guilt and shame, and using that as a lever to control action. And so potentially this feeling, if you were to watch this movie and see P Diddy on the screen and have that feeling, although you're not personally subscribed to this religion, I think it may have had this influence socially on you and me and many other people, where the reason you feel bad when he's on screen is because of Christian ideas and morals, that are still in the social fabric, even though you don't agree or ascribe to the overall current religion.
See, I don't know about that for certain things. I think in some cases, absolutely, there's some things that are like passed down, but at the same time, there's some things that just are across different cultures, different religions, different societies, countries. And being a creepy pedophile dude is like bad across the board. Like, everyone is like, that's. And I mean, look, there are like lower ages of consent in some countries. There's that.
No, but
However,
I'm talking about it's bad, but I'm talking about you, the way you described it, you have a visceral negative internal state when you see this guy on the TV,
well, it's
right?
just because of like it's like an uncomfortable, like, that they've done like really bad things, like things that like are like coming close to like being like a serial killer, like, it's my honestly, it's like, it's so, I don't even think you can categorize them. Those things are just like, those are some of just the worst things, like
Those are some of the worst things.
pedophilia, like, yeah, there's like, it just goes in the worst category. And I feel like that's something that goes beyond that. That's just a human thing, you look at someone who does something like that and you're like, ah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's just a human thing. I think it's a Christian thing. I
But
think
why in
it's
other religions or other, like, countries is it like there's a similar thing that happens. Someone like gets convicted of, like, even like someone of like who's a rapist or something. Like, across countries, that's someone that everyone then considers to be a bad person. I don't think there's any like it's not there's no exclusivity to, I guess, that premise.
no, it's not that it's bad or not, but then it's like having that feeling be something that like enters your body and overcomes your entire consciousness. And
I don't think it
it's almost
overcomes, though. I think it's just sitting there in the back where I know, like, I'm not looking at this person the same way.
oh, okay. Because it seemed like the way you initially described it was you couldn't be fully immersed in that world because of what happened. And I think what I was getting at was like in Christianity there's rules and doctrines, and also you there is a certain element of how it's practiced in the modern age where it is a sort of denial, or it can have your attention narrowly focused on like the conversation of what's good and bad, and also the conversation of what is good and how can I, as a consciousness and a being and an entity, be good. And so, like, in that way, it's like really divisive because you are saying, "Oh, that's bad. That's not me. I must push that away." And the way that we push things away is by feeling bad and like sh- creating a unpleasant exterior and not allowing the other person to connect to you. And
Well, I don't
so I
want that
think
guy connecting to me. Like,
I
I
know,
don't want
but it's
P
just a
Diddy connecting to me. That's like,
but what's happening is he's not this happened 14 years ago when this movie was filmed, and you're just you're it's I believe it's denial. I believe it's denial that that stuff happens, and I think it's denial that there are parts of us that we don't like, our own selves.
I see. I don't know. I don't feel like that's like the response that I get. Like, I think like it's pretty like it's not that a denial response. Maybe from some people, I don't know. Maybe some people have that response. I think it's knowing that that stuff happens and knowing that it continues to happen, and that sucks because it's legitimately a bad thing, and it's something that people do, human beings. It's just a little reminder that you know that humans do bad things. It's another reminder of that. You get that when you see like war. You get that when you see so many different things. Like humans do just legitimately terrible stuff sometimes. They can do great things sometimes, but they do a lot of shitty stuff too. So I think it's like just it's a genuine like just bad feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a reminder for sure that
That's how
bad
I
things
would
happen.
describe it. But there's probably
But
different
I think
people who
then
have.
it's like you're not thinking about that and you're not like considering reality at other times when it's not like just up in your face like that.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess if I was to constantly think about that stuff like that happens like all the time, I'd constantly be like in a pretty like, shitty mood. I'd constantly be thinking about all these bad things. So I think like it's a natural response to not always think about that stuff or think about the wars 24/7 or think about like how there's, people doing terrible things all the time, people exploiting people doing all these terrible things. I think
Mhm.
it's a natural response to just shut down for a little bit, not think about it, and then it just will every now and then remind you because you go insane, if you constantly were thinking about all
Yeah,
that
but
stuff.
but you don't need to be constantly thinking about it, but I think what I'm getting at is that you live your life and you uh have your contributions to society and your engagements with other people in the world, and it's not a surprise when Diddy comes onto the screen and he's in about 35 minutes of this movie.
I don't think
And
it's
it's
a
not
surprise, especially if I knew that he's in the movie. You
n-
know what I mean? Like now I know
it's
I'm watching this movie. I know he's going to be on screen.
right, right, but it's not a surprise that he's in the movie, but it's not like it's a surprise that there are pedophiles now that a pedophile you've seen.
I don't think
It's
it's
not a
like
it's
it's not
not a
like a
surprise.
shocking reaction. I wouldn't describe it though as a shock. I'd describe it as just like a bad taste. You know what I mean? Like you're watching this movie and you're like, "Oh, that person sucks." Like it's just a
Yeah,
little something that sits back there that's like, yeah, that person's a bad person.
yeah, yeah, he's bad.
I don't think it can like, I don't think it necessarily stops you from like watching the film and even enjoying the film as a whole, but you're still going to say like think in the back of your mind, "Oh, that's that's terrible." And there's also the different dynamic of if there was a new movie and for some reason, like, he made it or something, right? He made the movie. No one was giving him roles anymore. He made his own film. I wouldn't watch it because I'd be like, no, that's. It just depends, you know? It's, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. He seemed to be playing a version of himself. He didn't have the same name. He wasn't P. Diddy in the movie. He was, I think he was like a manager at this record label or something. Um,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I think I think the funniest moments were he wasn't involved in. Um, yeah, I don't want to spoil the movie, but I thought it was funny.
It might have been, too, like, just subconsciously, again, some of those things, it tampers down even the humor. Like, if he says a funny line, and again, it's just me. Maybe it's just me, but I can't. I'm not laughing the same way. Like, then especially if he makes like, or you're laughing because he says something that's too in line with like how terrible he actually is, and then you're laughing because like the just the irony of it, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it changes the dynamic. I feel like no matter what, there's a little.
Yeah, I think that's one of the drawbacks of being an intellectual, I believe.
Yeah, I guess maybe less enjoyment sometimes. I guess. But then again, there is like an emotional basis of just even not being an intellectual and just like that being, or maybe like being unaware. Maybe there's a certain like, what is it? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. I think mental capacity is only good for what it's good at, and if you want to have a certain life experience, it's not always it's not always good to have moral code and shit. Which I mean, like I believe you should have 100%. Like that's cool, but um yeah, we're just having this human experience. By the way, I'm not advocating for any of Diddy's actions or any bad people, Michael Jackson or anything. I think I just uh dude, I am the most skeptical person. Like I know the earth is round and shit, and I know um a lot of stuff, but they're telling me this thing happened, and like especially when there's a big incentive, like these kids now have notoriety, these kids who are in the documentary and stuff, and like the only incentive is to say that he did it or he did something bad, right? And like um at the very least they'd be embellishing on it. So like
That's not the only incentive though. If it actually happened, then the incentive is to try and like speak up about it because they're holding on to that trauma.
I know,
You know?
but the the only incentive is that in my mind, because that would make it more likely that they're lying, because we can't, because they're not hooked up to a lie detector test, or it wasn't in the court of law, and like nobody got in trouble legally and stuff, and like we're not speaking it about it in uh legal terms. It's a documentary. It's a creative expression. Somebody created it. It's not a video of Michael Jackson in a bed with some kids. That's that's not what it is.
There was
And
some
so for that,
evidence in there that was pretty like it shifted. Like I would say it's not like a 50-50, either it happened or it didn't. This documentary turned the dial pretty far. Like again,
so
there
what are
was
the
nothing that
what's the
was like,
evidence? What's the evidence
there
then?
was evidence of like I watched this a long time ago, but they had
Okay.
some recordings, some voice recordings. They
Of
had
what?
some stuff of like
Of
him
what?
I think of him like talking. Like yeah, like there was like some,
Talking, saying what?
I can't remember exactly what he said, but
Okay,
it was pretty
so then what are
damning.
we so then what are we talking about?
There was some damning evidence, like
Okay,
it.
what is it?
Well, you have to watch it. You should go watch the documentary. You should go watch it. It's been a
It's
while since I've seen it.
okay,
All I
so
remember
it's
is that it left
damning.
the impression. This was like 5 years
That's what
ago
I'm
that I've
saying.
seen this thing. Maybe like 4 or 5. It was a long time ago. But I'm telling you, the evidence that was in there was it didn't nothing was like 100% like it absolutely happened, but there was some stuff where it was like, oh, that's a little like sus, what we might call sus, you know. And then there was some
Uh-huh.
stuff where it was like, oh, that's really suspicious, that's really strange.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So
And
you
then
don't
he's
know
hanging
any
out with the
specific
kids, they have the
you
videos
don't know
hanging out with these kids.
you don't know any specifics, you just know it's damning evidence. So, until there's evidence, I just don't know,
Well,
you
and
know what
we
I'm
know
saying?
that they
Like
stayed the night at his house too. And then there's that first leap, and then you have the leap of like, okay, now we have like some recordings of different people talking about it. Now we have this, and then it slowly turned the dial,
yeah,
at least quite a bit for me. But I'd
yeah,
watch it because it's been a while. I haven't seen it in a
yeah.
long time.
So there's no evidence, it just is turning the dial of suspicion, and that's cool.
Well, I think there's
Um,
evidence. It's just not none of it is, what do you call it? Conclusive evidence.
well, it's not yeah, it's not conclusive, and also, like, the way you conveyed it wasn't, like, concrete. It was that was your emotional remnant of receiving the material, and then you're conveying that through language. I believe, like, the evidence might be the calls that I haven't heard, right? But then those calls have been they've been prefaced in the documentary by probably witnesses prior talking and setting up by maybe a narrator, and there's different shots of, like, troubled Michael Jackson, like, when his face started to change. So you're already in the mind frame of this is the narrative, this is the story that they're painting with this documentary, and if you just heard that call in isolation, you might have be differently receptive to it. And so I would need to hear those in isolation, and the whole point of it is, though, is the way that I can unlasso myself from, like, being attached to this issue is ultimately, I don't know what happened. And so if if I wanna have a pleasant experience and I'm a fan of music and I like creativity, like, if I see an interview with Michael Jackson, he's talking about creativity, I wanna hear about that. Right? He had just this incredible influence on the world, right, through music, and he might have done horrible stuff. It might have been really bad. I don't know, and so I'm not gonna, like, press pause and, like, try to not, "Oh, I'm a good person, so let me make sure I'm not fully buying into this." Like, I'm just trying to say that I'm just skeptical of a lot of stuff, man, and that's just I think just my disposition, like, I know people make stuff up, I know people, uh, like, I've had a certain amount of power, right? There was one time when I was, like, in charge of an organization, right? And there was, like, all sorts of moving parts and different employees, and when I had an idea, 12 people had to do that the very next day, they had to do my idea, like, "I said this, you do this," and it was hard to not be selfish and only be setting things up so that it was, like, best for me, right? And, like, I had I had spent a lot of time thinking, like, "Hey, like, how do I be a good person? How do I, like, be respectful of other people? How do I be a member of society?" And then when you get in that position where you have power and nothing's gonna check you, like, it's easy to think selfishly, it's easy to make mistakes, and I know a lot of people are in these positions where they didn't get the proper training in ethics and they didn't get the proper training in what it means to be a citizen of society, and people make these bad decisions, and sometimes these bad decisions are made by people who are heads of different media organizations or they're different celebrities. And so, like, or they're running giant companies and they're fucking over their employees, or they're having a bad impact on society or the environment, and like foreign relations, like a bunch of different stuff. So I know what it's like to be in power and to sort of abuse it. Like, I wasn't doing anything horrible, but like, I know how hard it is to have power and be responsible. That I know that a lot of people are making mistakes who have a lot of power, and that's influencing how we believe what is happening in this world. Okay, as regards to different celebrities and like horrible shit they've done, but just believe generally about what we're doing on this earth. What's the purpose of all this? Like, where we're as a country, like what that even means. Like, there's just stories and stories and stories being created by people who are making mistakes, who are not properly trained to do their jobs. And now I'm filtering through people's mistake driven narratives to create some sort of idea of how I'm experiencing the world. Right? Like, it's like I'm skeptical because I know what it's like to be unqualified to be in the position I'm in. And I know that's happening a lot in this world. There's a lot of people who are not trained to do their jobs properly. And I'm not going to just idly accept the stories that other people are talking about and what's being put out there. I don't know the stuff, man. Like, I just don't know it.
I mean, skepticism is good. It's not like it's bad. That like a healthy amount of skepticism is good, but too much skepticism can be pretty dangerous as well, because then you're just living in a world of chaos where nothing is true. When definitely a good portion of things that are out there are true, do exist in some capacity. And there are some people who are telling the truth. And there are some people who, you know how to do their jobs to some extent at least. You have those cases where again you have the people who don't, you have the people who lie, you have the people who have a motivation to get across a certain narrative. So the skepticism is good, but if you hear something and it passes your, skepticism checks, then it's not always the worst thing to accept something. However, I will say, in the event that something that maybe even internally you don't want to be true ends up being true, it doesn't mean that like going back to the Michael Jackson case. I don't think there's anything wrong with then like still listening to the music and doing the whole like separating the music from the artist thing. I think that's kind of like that's a personal thing. It depends on, who you are. As long as when it comes down to the brass tacks and we know that somebody did something, they've been convicted of it, and we know that this person, um as long as we're not putting them on the same pedestal, we can still say the music's great. We can still say that um certain things that they did, we can have some separation perhaps, and there can be conversation for that. But when it comes down to the convictions and it's ends up being true, at a certain point of denialism within that reality, when that reality is now truth, then there starts to become a process of it wears down on the victims. But that's only when it comes down to the truth being exposed fully. Until that officially happens, of course there's room for, speculation.
Yeah. So Diddy is not in a gray area. Michael Jackson is. Kevin
Yeah.
Spacey is not in a gray area.
I would agree with you there. Even after watching that documentary, I couldn't say for
Bruce
certain.
Jenner is in a gray area.
I haven't heard about those ones, but
Oh,
yeah, exactly. Like,
Caitlyn Jenner or whatever. Sorry, but yeah,
yeah, it
ran
depends on the
over somebody
circumstance.
in her car. So
Yeah, I did not hear
hit
about
hit
that,
and
but
run. So yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. Like, we don't know this stuff, and yeah, I think my skepticism as a disposition is good, not in isolation for my own good, but I believe as a member of society, I believe that it is a good position for some people in the society to have.
Sure. Yeah. I'd say everyone. I mean, like a certain amount of speculation is good for anybody. I mean, look at what happens to some people who like fall down rabbit holes of like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I mean, they were never trained in media literacy either. A lot of people, I mean, think about it. Some people were going to school back when the internet was in its infancy, you know? A lot of these people, when they, graduated, they were never taught how to do research on the internet or, all this other stuff. So they don't know how to discern a truthful article from an article that just is feeding you crap. So they'll just eat up whatever shows up on their Facebook page. They'll eat up whatever they find on Google. And, they end up unfortunately being, living in a world of basically just chaos where nothing is true, but they have these convictions that there's like, crazy things going on around them at all times. Or believing that the earth is flat and not like, it
Yeah.
ranges.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being a skeptic it has certain perks, and I'm using that version right now at least. Um,
See, but a good skeptic doesn't fall. See, I think this is the weird thing because a lot of those people who are flat earthers, actually, I didn't even think about this. This is kind of crazy. A lot of those flat earthers say that they're the skeptics when they have actually bought into a conspiracy theory. So there's kind of like an underlying irony where they were trying to be the skeptic and deny other information, and they just ended up buying into something else. So
yeah,
it's kind
that
of
is
like a
ironic.
weird, yeah. Like they're technically not the skeptics when it comes down to it. It's I don't know.
Yeah, I think when you are a skeptic, I think the idea is you're trying to find some information that would be less likely that you'd find it through other means. And finding that information would be important for yourself and for the people you care about. And so the idea isn't to remain forever a skeptic. I believe it's just like a system of thought and interfacing with information that might allow you to find niche information, to basically it's digging for gold through denying what sort of jewelry or precious metals that exist on the surface already. Like I think the idea is that it's that you're mining for something that eventually is going to contribute to the overall story and refine certain aspects of what was initially rejected as part of the process of discovery.
Yeah, yeah. I think that you can find gold, but for every piece of gold that you can find, I would say there's a ton of fool's gold lying around as well. And I think like just like with those flat earthers, they started rejecting everything around them in the attempt to like, be a skeptic. And I think there's also a feeling of like what is it? You can like read things. Like people will probably they go down a rabbit hole on the internet, they fall into this and they think they found gold when actually it's just a turd nugget basically.
Yeah.
But there's also like this there becomes this like idea of, I think, even there becomes like a social club that surrounds it. Like they have these conferences, right? And all of a sudden they're going outside, they're meeting people, they're gathering. I wonder if there's like a loneliness that's attached to this. Like there's a need to feel more important, to be a part of something. They want to be a part of the process, but because they feel like they don't have a community, there's no outlet for them to actually like do something that feels like they're really contributing to something greater. They end up falling into these traps, some people.
Yeah. Definitely falling into traps. Um, yeah, I think it takes a keen understanding of what bullshit looks and feels like, and then also determination that like your journey is like serving some sort of higher purpose. And hey, if you find something that looks like gold and it turns out to be bullshit, like good, especially if it looks really real at first. That's going to refine the overall picture of our understanding of what's happening. Um, because like the flat earthers, they're like, hey, give me some evidence that it's round, right? So clearly in the education system, it has not been demonstrated clearly enough because it is round, right? It hasn't been demonstrated clearly enough with enough simplicity that these people can exist. These flat earth people can exist because it's not as clear as we'd like it to be that it is round, you know? So ultimately, like the round earth people they're refining their message now that there's like this opposition, right? And so like finding shit out there and then comparing it to what we already got also can help us.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that can even be traced back to like, unfortunately, a really poor education system that doesn't do a good enough job preparing people for the real world and actually like fully educating them. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
also have, because I think about the one like clip of the guy who made his own balloon. He was doing his own little like his science in his
I
own
think
little
I think
way.
we've talked about this already.
Yeah, and he flew up and he saw the curvature and he said, "No, I must have done something wrong."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like somebody who like can't, like, you could fly somebody up into space and they'd look down and they'd go, nah, there's something wrong. There's just something wrong here. You'd fly them
Yeah,
around
yeah.
the planet. No, there's something going on here. Get
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of
yeah.
the spaceship. They're floating in space. There must be something going on here as they're drifting back into orbit. It's like, what's like that? I don't know. There's no way to like. I don't know, because then people don't want to be wrong, I guess, too. Maybe that's another component. There is like an uncomfortable. I don't know if it's a societal thing or if it's just a naturally human thing that a lot of people
Human.
don't like to be wrong. I mean, I'll admit it. I bet you there's a negative feeling that comes with it when you find out you're wrong about something, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't I that could also be Christian related, dude. I'm telling you, these Christian roots are becoming untangled in the 21st century, but they're pretty they're pretty ingrained. So I believe, being wrong feels like a sin ultimately. And like what sin originally meant was missing the mark. So it's basically like a sin is like when you're shooting bow and arrows and you miss the target and like all you need to do is shoot the bow again and like hit the target, right? But I think it's been augmented to be like wrong, or like inherently wrong is like sin, right? But sin is really missing the mark, shoot again. And yeah, I mean we don't want to be wrong, but um, only certain aspects of us don't wanna be wrong. Um, it's almost like there's like a, um there's different layers in the human experience. There's like the portion of you that is like altruistic and has an intent to have a whatever sort of experience you want to have with the world and with humanity, right? There's there's that aspect of you. There's also this aspect that like gets angry sometimes or like has a stomach ache, and like when your stomach hurts or you get a headache or something, it's like that a certain part of you gets like the light shined on that aspect. And sometimes that aspect, people call it the ego, but it's basically like thinking as an individualized entity, that I exist separate from all this other stuff. And um when you're in that sort of mode mentally, when you're just in that frame, you you tend to believe that that's the only thing that exists. Whereas when you're different frames, less localized on you and your internal experience and like what's happening to you at this moment, then you're able to tap into like kind of grander visions, less specific versions of experience in life. And like it's a spectrum, right? And so um when you're wrong and you feel bad, because sometimes you're wrong and you don't feel bad, I believe it's having the being wrong when you're in that ego, uh I am me, you are you, we are separate kind of mind frame.
Yeah. That was well put. I'm trying to think what I could add. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, so that then that's the thing though, is that we are um like they diagnose people with multiple personality disorder, right? And like that's when it becomes a problem, and like the personality like splits and has like a it has a moment where it's like can't reconcile the different parts of you, right? Um and then you get locked into certain personalities, and like it seems like someone's being erratic, right? I think what ultimately happens is like as you grow into your adult self, you can get into a position where you have integrated a lot of these different parts of you, and that you can be enjoying your existence as like this unified thing, cuz like people talk about like a younger self, like the 5 or 6-year old version of them still like exists in a certain way. And somebody who's like a painter later in life like might be tapping into some of this stuff that this younger version wanted to get out of life, right? And so like this painting hobby is something this person, if you like just look at them as like a singular identity, this person likes to do, right? But you could peel back the layers a little bit and see like this is how the younger self gets this expression is through painting. At the same time, this woman might be working in the government somewhere as like a ranking official, and then they have this other part of them, which is like, I seek discipline, I seek order. Like they have this personality that's like, there's a general, she's a general in the military personality, and she likes to paint, but she doesn't like to do them at the same time. And the way that humans work is you can't really be a painter and a general in an army at the same time. So it has to be kind of separated to a certain degree. And um so all I'm saying is uh I'm starting to look at people more as m- multiple things at once, and you might see different parts of them at different times as opposed to like a singular entity traveling through time.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the same thing happens with oh, my mouth is now disguised by the sun. Yeah, like like code switching. They even say like people
Yeah.
like they code switch around different people, you know, depending on what group of friends you're with, depending on you know, if you're going to work, you're going to possibly be different than you are with your family. There's I was going to say too, I think you might get some pretty fucked up paintings from the army general if someone was in army general mode, and
Yeah.
you might get some, imagine on the battlefield is doing a little painting. Just blood
Yep.
everywhere. Oh my god.
Using blood as the paint sometimes.
Yeah, or you know what? Maybe actually that part influences the painting in some way, because maybe they have PTSD. You know, they're off to war. Maybe not the general. The general is probably maybe in more the cushy seat, but maybe a soldier that comes back starts painting again. It
Art
works its
therapy.
way, yeah, into the work. That happened with even J.D. Salinger, who wrote Catcher in the Rye. He came back from the war, and the book wasn't about the war, but there were like little pieces of the book that apparently described a lot of symptoms of PTSD, which he had.
Oh,
So stuff like
yeah.
that can work its way in a little bit, you know?
Yeah, dude, PTSD is real, that's for sure. Um JD Salinger, that's funny. I share the first two initials with him.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
JD.
JD.
Not saying the last name, but um I have been floating out the idea of being having another artist name called Jacob Douglas, which I think could be a pretty good name.
Nice. I like that. I've been thinking about changing my artist name as well. Well, I haven't used it in a long time. I guess whenever I make songs with Hidden Tricycle with you guys, uh I guess sometimes then the name shows up cuz you guys tag me in it. But I'm thinking about a different name as well, cuz I haven't done any solo stuff in a long time, and I don't know if I want to release something now when I haven't released something for so long. I feel like that's like just it's a different thing now, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a different thing. It's not like it's going to matter initially unless like you want the name. You like what do you want people to do when they listen? They see the name and they're like, "Oh, what do you want them to think?"
I think part of it is that I don't think those songs are as good anymore cuz I made them a long time ago, you know?
Mhm. You can also
Like
just delete them.
I could, but then again there's like a sentimental aspect. And I had them on, like, I don't have them on Spotify. Those are just on SoundCloud and I think and YouTube. But I don't know. There's still something where I'm like, there's a sentimental aspect, and I listen back to them, and they're not bad. It's not like they're bad or anything. I can still enjoy them. I just, I think do you know that feeling though, don't you? Like when you listen to something from a long time ago, and you're like, that wasn't as, I can do better now, you know?
Yeah, one thing I heard, do you know Tame Impala, the psychedelic rock band?
Yeah. Mm.
There's a guy, Kevin, he produces all the music himself and he mixes it and then he like brings the act to life with a five piece band. And what he was saying when he puts out albums, he basically can't listen to an old album of his until he's put out a new album, and then he can go back and listen to it. And especially his earlier stuff, now he's put out a few projects. He can listen to it, and now anything that he would have previously thought was bad when he first put it out is now he called it cute. Like it's just like, "Oh, that's nice." Like
Hmm.
that's where I was at then, right? And so, yeah, it is a growth process, an evolution process that you are capturing and putting into a catalog of work, you know? So you could just continue with what you got, steel strings now, and just start putting out your new music on Spotify as well, because that's likely where people will find it, but who knows? Could be on SoundCloud too. Um, yeah. I mean, do you have ideas about what you would want to call it instead?
No, I thought about
Yeah.
just doing my full name, just saying, because that's what some artists do that are solo artists. It's just their music.
Yeah.
That is one option. I don't know.
Because you said no at first. I'm pretty sure there's already a band called No, but
What about no no with an
no, no.
apostrophe? No no.
Oh yeah, I like that. What if you were No too?
Oh, that's a good one. What if I become Taylor Swift too?
Ooh.
That's
What
got brand
if,
recognition right there.
what if you became Swift Taylor?
Swift Taylor, that's a good one. Yeah.
I actually like that a lot.
Imagine that showing up in the out like, "Oh, I can't wait." Oh man. This
What if
isn't
it was
Taylor
just
Swift.
Swift and then Ayler?
Swift Ayler.
Swift Ayler.
Swift Ayler. That sounds weird. Also, this light is starting to really. I'm gonna go close this blind. This is insane.
Swift Ayler sounds good to me. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Okay, that's got to be better. Is it? Okay. Yeah, I couldn't put up with that any longer. That
Yeah.
was getting ridiculous.
Swift Ayler is it just sounds like Swift Taylor, but you don't have to like get jammed up saying it. Swift Taylor.
What about Twift?
No.
No. Oh, all right.
But what if it was Swift SWIF space Taylor Swift Taylor?
Swift Taylor. Yeah,
That actually
that
kind
does
of
roll off the
that's
tongue.
Swift Taylor.
Swiffler.
Ooh. kind
The Swiffler.
of like I kind of like that one. Swiffler.
I feel like that's one of those names that somebody would choose. Like those stories where like a band chooses their name and then something like just miraculously pops off, right? In
Yeah.
the infancy, and then people start using the name, and then they're like, I can't believe that's my name now. That sounds
Yeah.
like one of those names
Swiffler.
where it's like, hey, Swiffler. And eventually you're
Oh,
like, don't ever call me that again. Like, eventually you just break.
yeah. Yeah, well, I guess it just depends on what kind of music you make.
Yeah, true.
Swiffler.
Swiffler.
Because
Sounds like it.
if you're making weird beats and stuff, like, are you making like that's the thing. Like a record label would ask you, like, what kind of music are you making? Who's your audience?
Right now, I don't really have a genre, though. I think that's the problem. It's more aligned with what I think what you guys make at with Hidden Tricycle. Like it's kind of alternative. Uh, but then again, I haven't released anything. These are just the beats that I'm working on. It's mostly alternative stuff, I think. Pop
Yeah,
alternative mix, I'd say.
yeah. You could be spiked cheese.
Spiked cheese. Hmm. Or
I said spite cheese.
spite.
Spite cheese.
Spiked cheese. A spiked cheese sounds a little bit weird. What have you done to the cheese? You know, what have you put in there? Spiked
Drugs.
drugs. Yeah, Fent, the Fent boys. Said it's just me. It's just one person, but the I don't know why that
Speaking of tragedies, dude.
What would somebody think if they were like, "Yeah, bro, I'm going to see the Fent boys tonight." It's like, oh Jesus.
The Fent boys, it's not clearly about fentanyl.
Yeah, true. It's who knows. Fent could mean anything. You know, it could be
Well, it could just be your name, could just be
ethanol.
Fent.
Fent. Yeah.
One syllable. Hey, are you going to the Fent concert later?
That still sounds. It sounds a little filthy. Still, it sounds like someone's like, "Really, you're going to the Fent concert? All right, all right.
No,
I
Fent
see. I
Fent
see."
just kind of seems, it seems a little abrupt, I guess. Fen
The-
Fent Fen
I don't know why, but just a
Fent.
band called the Meth Heads. Just don't even hint at it. Just cut to the chase.
The methods.
The Meth Heads, because it doesn't even sound. It kind of sounds like a band name, like a rock band, heavy metal.
Yeah.
The Meth Heads.
Well, you could just be the methods.
The Methods. Yeah, the Methods. And then the fans are called the Meth Heads.
Yeah. The methods, dude.
The Methods.
What it was, Fent and the methods.
Fent and the Methods. Yeah. Is the lead singer the Fent, and then the Methods are they're the band. Yeah.
Yeah. Fent and the Nolloids.
And the Nolloids. What is the Nolloids a reference to?
Well, fentanyl.
Opioids. Fentanyl, and then opioids.
Fent and the Nolloids. Yeah.
The Nolloids. That's when that changes, right? Because you have the Methods. That's like rock. When Fent goes and joins the Nolloids, it becomes like a very what would it be? It's some kind of like really soft music. It's like sad music. It's like
Fentanyl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sad boy, slow music. Yeah. Fent
Yeah.
and the Nolloids.
Fent and the
That Fent and the
Nolloids.
Nolloids actually is a great name.
It is actually. That does sound. It does roll off the tongue. That's
Fent
not a
and the
one-man
Nolloids.
band name though. That's like you gotta have a whole group assembled for that.
You gotta have the
know?
Nolloids. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have the Nolloids. Or
You
maybe
should
it
be Fent first.
could be, but also, what if somebody? This is sad. This is actually like a sad. This is like imagine somebody who just like makes a band, but it's just them wearing different outfits, and they get so in their head about it. Whenever they're doing a different part, like they are doing the drums, they dress up like how they want the drummer to be. Hey man, it's great to see you. Throws off the hat, puts on something else, like on the computer, like, oh, great to see you in the studio, man. Get on those drums, give us a beat. All right, man. And then he plays the drums, and then he goes and something different for the bass, something different for the guitar. He plays the lead singer. And then eventually there comes a day where he has a large enough audience. It's time for a live show. He just has
He's got to come out of the closet.
yeah, or maybe he still is in such denial. He pre-records all the other parts. But he has like these screens that like is him drumming and him playing the bass and him playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And people are like, "That's just you. That's you wearing a different hat." And he's like, "No, it's Jimmy the drummer."
Yeah. Well, when he would come out of the closet, it would mean he would stop putting on costumes, but whatever. Yeah, Fenton and the Nolloids, dude.
Fenton the
Fenton.
Nolloids.
Fenton. Yeah. You'll come up with something. You made any more beats recently?
No, actually I've been putting all my time into this video that I've got
Nice.
coming up. I think I messed around with one of the beats that I made for a little bit, but then when I finished the filming for this video project, it's taken so long. It's taking way longer than I've wanted it to. And I don't even think it's like I'm up and down about the project. I'll get to a point while editing where I'll just be like, doesn't feel very good to me anymore. It doesn't feel like the best thing I've made. And then I'll go through like an upturn and I'll be like, this is good. This is great. This is turning out the way I want to. It's like it's like a bipolar project. That's what I'm calling it.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll show you it. I'll give you a preview, see what you think. Because
Okay.
right now, I've rewatched something so many times. I haven't made a long project in a while. This is probably the longest that I've made in like at least 2 years.
How long
But
is it?
it's maybe like 15 minutes, but all my other
Oh
bits
shit.
have been like
Oh,
shorts.
shit.
They've been the last thing
Wait,
I made.
when can you show it to me?
I don't know actually. I'm getting close though. I'm almost done. I'm right on the finish line. So, I'll be able to show you soon.
Nice. Can I show you something?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to share the screen? Cuz I'll have to I'll have to go and switch the point of view. Okay.
Can you hear this?
Yeah, I can hear that. I can hear that. Oh, wait. I guess I didn't have to change the point of view. Never mind. Oh, well. This works.
You can hear that?
Yeah, I can hear that.
A lot of people in this world, they're on the streets. They got all sorts of problems. There's diabetes. They got all sorts of problems. They got problems in their head, the joints, and all the different parts of the bodies. I'm just trying to do what I can. But I don't. I'm trying to do what I can. Bad times. I'm talking about sad times. Yeah. All the world's gonna heal on the chains. I tried many things before, but this time is different. I'm never giving up. 'Cause it's not okay. No, it's not okay. No, it's not okay. No, it's not okay. I want to help you. I try to do it right, but I'm lost in the wrong dimension. And I've ought to be afraid doing bad so I can do good. I wish I had another way. I wish I had another way, but I am on another way, and I know
That was nice. I'll switch it back.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, did the so I think it cut out sometimes. Was the parts where it speeded up a little bit? Was that not in the song?
No, that was not in the song.
Okay. That was just on my end. I think the internet was slow, so it would cut and then it would speed up a little bit and catch
Okay.
back up. But I thought that the first time it happened, I thought that was in the song, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." It kind of almost
Oh,
worked a
nice.
little bit. That was weird. Yeah.
Nice.
But I like it. I like the beat. That's nice. I like the song.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be on the next project, the Hidden Tricycle project.
Okay, nice. Are you putting some of those songs that we were all working on there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Nice. Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, 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 me too. I think yeah, we've been developing the narrative a little more, and even a song like this kind of fits near the beginning of the album. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm excited about it.
Nice. Me too. Me too.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I made that I think yesterday. Yeah, yeah, I made that yesterday. Um yeah, dude, sometimes it's just like the song makes itself. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You know, I found that with a lot of either music or sometimes even video editing. I'll put a song in there and somehow the cuts just naturally work sometimes. You might have to mess around with it a little bit, but it's like, man, how did that fit so
Yeah.
well without having to do too much?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 the song wanted to be made. So yeah, that happens. And it's awesome. Um yeah, so the Jorts thing, just to wrap things up. Um
That's right. The title of the episode, we haven't gotten to it.
you got to wear jorts in the summer. And that's all I'll say about that topic. I do want to say, just going back to episode 37 of last week, I believe it was, unless this is 37 or is this 38?
This is I believe it's 37.
Oh, this 30. So episode
Mm.
36 was entirely about sending something out into space and having aliens come down and do actions on the earth based on what was sent out into outer space, right? Which was ejaculate.
Yeah.
There's a movie that came out this year that is about that very topic.
No
Not about the
way.
not about the ejaculate, but sending shit out
Oh,
into space and having the aliens come to Earth and act based on what was sent out there. So, in the movie, there was this little kid who was really good at video games, and they sent out these video games from 1980 when NASA was sending shit out into space, and they had there was a Donkey Kong game where Mario jumped up the little thing, and there was Pac-Man and Galaga, which was like shooting flying ships and shit, aliens. The aliens simulated the video games from the 1980s, and they were challenging the people of Earth to a competition. So these Donkey Kong from was simulated by aliens, and then the humans had to fight them in real life.
damn.
This movie came out this year. It was based on the premise that we were talking about for over an hour last week.
Yeah, unlike them having a reaction to what specifically was sent out. I thought, oh
In a
man,
negative
can you?
way. In a
I thought that the movie was about them sending out the. I thought it was exactly what we described, where the cum gets sent out, they find it, and then. Can you imagine if that was the movie idea? Oh my god. Oh,
Yeah. That'd be just something else, man.
what would happen though in that? I'd want to ask the writers, okay, So these are the aliens. They're mimicking aliens. They like to mimic. They're like, oh, you sent us this. Let's do something based off of this. They're like
That's all
having
they know
fun.
about. That's all they know about human society. So they're just trying to. They want to have a competition with them, and so they're just doing what they know about them, which is ends up killing some people. It's an Adam Sandler movie. Actually, it's called Pixels. Kevin James is in it. Yeah.
In this reality, though, what would happen if they sent cum? How would they replicate that? What would they think humans are interested in?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they would do it, dude.
They like goop. Ah! It just floods the whole planet.
Yeah, goop, dude. A lot of women would be getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that.
Or maybe they just assume it's like, I don't know what would be that consistency. Something that consistency, and they just throw. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. They throw it and it stains people's jorts.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for another episode of
Of this.
I'm Dog. This is radio. And
you
shout out.
guys have a good one.
Jesus is definitely voting for MAGA, so
And don't forget don't forget that
Michael
all.
Jackson's a bad guy.
Yeah, but what else was in this episode? Yeah, don't send cum out into space, or else you'll be playing cum games instead of Super Mario.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I really need a hotkey for this. I hate having to look over when we have that perfect ending and then
Yeah.
goodbye.
Oh.
Oh no, that just stopped recording. I need to. Okay, this